Welcome to Layer of the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, let's discuss Judas Priest's 1990 album Painkiller. This was a sort of comeback album for Judas Priest. I know it was, at least for me. The two albums before this, Turbo and Ram It Down, although over the years I've grown to appreciate Turbo, I've never really grown to appreciate Ram It Down. The band had really gone in a very commercial, very MTV direction. Those albums, the production on them is very dated. It doesn't even sound like there's real drums on those records. Sounds like it's a drum machine. Did lots of synthesizers, guitar synths, and although there's some cool songs, like I love the title track Turbo Lover and Out in the Cold is a great one, there's way too much stuff like Parental Guidance that's just cringeworthy, and Johnny Be Good and stuff like that really, all those things combined drag those albums down for me. So I think Priest senses this in a way and decides to get back to their roots. And by the roots, I mean sort of the Screaming for Vengeance, British Steel era of the band. They bring in producer Chris Tzangris, and Dave Holland, the drummer before this, leaves. Scott Travis comes into the band. Scott Travis, a much more modern sounding drummer, with his double kicks and his more technical, sort of aggressive, fast technical playing. So all this, the band sort of makes a conscious effort to bring themselves into the present day, to sort of up their game and I won't say change their sound, but take sort of the British Steel Screaming for Vengeance sound and modernize it a bit for where metal was in 1990. By the time, when Screaming for Vengeance and British Steel came out, this was before thrash. This was before the more extreme types of metal. So now all thrash and all that stuff is at full force. So Priest comes out with this album, Painkiller, and shows that they can hang with the young kids. And hang they do. The album starts off introducing the newest member of the band, Scott Travis. The song Painkiller starts off with that amazing drum part there, when he playing like that busy thing, and then he drops into like the sort of the main rhythm of the song there, and then the guitars come in. The guitars are very like laser focused and metallic sounding on this record, like real surgical precision, the way these riffs are, the way everything was played. The production on this record, I have some issues with the production on this. It is very, very bright. Now, you could say bright in a good metallic steel kind of way, but it is really lacking in any kind of bottom end warmth or bass frequencies. In fact, Ian Hill, the bass player, this just came out not that long ago, that Don Airey, who as a keyboard player, Don Airey, who had played with Ozzy Osbourne and a lot of other bands, recently came out and said that he played synthesizer, keyboard, bass on this whole album. And if you go online, you can hear isolated tracks from a lot of bands. And you can hear the isolated tracks from the song Painkiller, meaning you can hear the bass by itself, the drums by itself. This is all from when Guitar Hero and those games were out. There's a way to extract. They needed the individual tracks for those games, and people were able to extract them. So if you hear the bass part for Painkiller, sounds like a sequencer. It's just it's very robotic. It sounds like there's a bass, somebody playing bass in with it too, but the synthesized sequenced bass thing is very dominant in the sound. And to me, that takes away a little bit from this record. I wish this record had a stronger low end heft and warmth to it, because it is very steely and metallic and almost piercing. The vinyl warms it up a little bit. The CD, especially the remaster, is just really, really bright, although I have an original CD of it too, and it's just the way that the album was recorded. So that is something that I have a little bit of a fault with on it. But like I said, the band sort of announces themselves like this is Priest at this point maybe call them a 4.0. You know, you had the 70s, you had the early 80s era 2.0, you had the Ripper era 3.0. Maybe this is Priest 4.0, Priest for the 90s. Everybody's playing incredible, especially a shout out to Glenn Tipton. I made a video a long time ago comparing Dave Murray and Adrian Smith to KK and KK Downing and Glenn Tipton. One of the things I commented is that when this album came out, it was very obvious that Glenn Tipton went back to the woodshed and upped his chops game, because his playing on this album is very technical, very not a fast stuff, tapping modern things for that era. You got to also remember that by the late 80s now, this is the era of the shred guitar, where Steve Vai and just Vinnie Moore, Tony McAlpine, all of these guys are just out there taking the guitar to new levels of technique. And Glenn could have been somebody that just sort of stuck with the way he played in the 70s and stayed with that. Nobody would have complained. But he clearly made a conscious effort to raise the level of his technique. And it really shines in this. Like the guitar solo in Painkiller, it just comes ripping out with these sweep arpeggios and these really super fast lines. So right from the beginning here, Priest is like making a statement like, we're here, we're back, we're going to show the kids how it's done. And the album pretty much doesn't really let up. It's a lot of like solid, very direct, good Priest riffing, big choruses. Hell Patrol, you know, is another one. Rob sounds amazing on this record. Rob's, of course, an amazing singer. Rob's never sounded bad. But on this, he even seems to up his game, where there's tons of like super high screams, and his vocal range, just really exploring his whole range here. So all the songs just come out punching hard here. Hell Patrol, that's a driving one with a big chorus. All Guns Blazing, I love that one. I think this was one of mine when we did our Judas Priest deep cuts. I love the part in this song where the chorus, the normal chorus, like the drums are playing fast, like, oh, guns, all guns blazing. And then there's a part in the song where the drums play like a halftime thing. Oh, guns, all guns blazing. Yeah, that's just like so cool. I love the way it drops down like that. Leather Rebel, it's another one, you know, just fast drumming, fast riffing, slashing guitars, like just left and right, flying at you from like all angles. You know, again, it's sort of like they're not playing anything like safe or cautious here. They're just coming out and just pummeling the listener. Metal Meltdown, another one. Nightcrawler, that's a cool one. Between the Hammer and the Anvil, great chorus. The songs are really focused here. You know, they come in fast and they go out hard. You know, they don't mess around. There's not a lot of like sort of looseness in these songs. They're very laser focused. It sort of goes along with the production and the whole vibe of this thing, which was just like, it seemed like the band was really focused, whereas the last two albums, they were sort of searching around, not really sure what they wanted to do, where their place was in that sort of late 80s sound. But here, they're right on target. Touch of Evil, one that I really love. This is one where the tempo changes. We've just been hit with all these really heavy, fast numbers, and Touch of Evil takes it back. Amazing chorus in this song. This is one where there's like, it sounds like there's a million Rob voices just like stacked in different octaves on top of each other. There's a part in that song when you're possessing me, where Rob is just like absolutely up in the stratosphere of his voice, and the chorus of the song is just great. Fantastic song. Should have been a massive radio hit. I mean, I think it was a hit to a certain degree, like on MTV and stuff, but just a really great song. Battle Hymn is an instrumental, and then it goes out on One Shot of Glory, another sort of double bass drum, kind of upbeat like the rest of the songs on here. Maybe the only other complaint I have, it would have been nice to see some more variety in the tempo, like a Sentinel kind of vibe, maybe to some song. But again, it seems like Priest wants to make a statement here that they can play as fast and as furious and as precise as anybody out there at that time. Any of the thrash bands out there, Priest, hey, we're here, we can hang with you. Don't forget about us. And nobody did. This album, in a lot of ways, is a classic of the band. And there's a lot of people that discovered the band around this era, and this is their favorite album. Unfortunately, Rob would leave. Actually, I was wrong earlier. I said 4.0. This would be 3.0 because Ripper came after this record. So this is really Priest 3.0. So there you go. Rob leaves after this record, unfortunately. He would eventually come back to the band. We've talked about Angel of Retribution, but we'll talk about other ones from that era, I'm sure, at some point. So, all right, let me know down in the comments, what do you think of Judas Priest's Painkiller? How do you think it sits within their catalog? Did it feel like sort of a comeback of sorts for you? Let me know in the comments down below. And make sure you hit like and subscribe. And until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.